what? Welcome back to the Cymarshall Law Show, where we stay true to ourselves and never ever conform. This is where we dive deep into the lives and the stories of some of the most inspiring and influential figures in our culture. Today, we have a very, very special guest who's made a significant impact in the world of BMX and hip-hop. He is the founder of the popular website Sugar Cayne, a hub for BMX, hip-hop, comics, and lifestyle content. He is also the mastermind behind the Sugar Cayne Bike Fest, an event that has been celebrating BMX and off-road cycling for over a decade. His passion for promoting the sport and its culture is unmatched, and his dedication to the community involvement is truly inspiring. Please join me in welcoming the one and only Crazy Al Cayne. Let's celebrate his incredible journey and his achievements and get ready to be inspired by his story. Al Cayne, thank you for coming through to the show, my brother. What's going on?
What's going on, my guy? How you doing today?
What up, what up, what up, what up? What's going on?
Yeah, I really appreciate you coming through to the show.
I appreciate you inviting me. You know what I'm saying? It was mad random, which was really dope.
It was random, but I'm a person who doesn't like to see people get hated on.
hmm
And you had made a comment on your page, and it seemed like there were a couple crabs in the bucket. And I was like, let me assist this guy because we don't appreciate that around here at all.
Exactly. You know what it was? It's just, looking at different things. It wasn't really a direct thing on me, but it was just looking at the world around us. And it just seems like there are just a lot of crab in the barrel activity going on just in general. So it's just like one of those little general statements like, yo, this crabs in the barrel virus is going around and it's crazy.
It's going around like crazy. I think it's because when people are following their passions clearly, like you're doing, because it's very clear, it's always been clear what you're doing. I feel like people who are stuck in their mundane, redundant lives,
Mm,
they don't know how to articulate their unpleasure for their lives. So they see someone like you always like passionately doing what they're doing, and they hate on it, but they don't even know why they're hating. But it's because you're actually doing what you're supposed to be doing, and it shows vividly when we all
right,
see it. So,
right.
and it wasn't that random. You were one of the person. I'm talking about me interviewing on the show. You're one of the people I've thought about since the beginning of the show. Like I always
Really?
thought about you. Yeah. So when I saw that comment, I was like, oh, it's time.
Right, right.
I was gonna ask you eventually anyway. So it wasn't too random.
That's what's up, man. I appreciate that.
No doubt, your story's always been super interesting to me. Can you tell me and us what your early life was like growing up?
How early we talking?
Say let's say teenage into the 20s, 30s, like
Teenage?
kind of.
All right, so my early life consisted of a passion already uh for BMX, for bike riding. Um I was already, riding bicycles early on, took the training wheels off and instantly trying to jump and all kind of stuff. And this
What
was
age was
actually,
that?
hmm?
What age
What
was that?
age? Man, let's say that I guess maybe 8 or 9 years old, maybe even before that. Probably like, yeah, probably like 6 or 7 years old. We had the remember the old school bikes that they looked like beach cruisers back in the day.
Yeah,
It was kind of like in between. It was in between you had the road bike people, you had the Schwinn's and all of that. Then you had like the, the department store type of bike, and they looked kind of resembled beach cruisers up today. So they had
right.
the little fender on the front, fender on the back, nice little cushion seat, and it was like I think I had like a 16-inch or 18-inch wheel bike, and you do the wheelies, and then the actual fender would just scratch the ground, those type of bikes. So that was like the first bike that I had. It was a blue. It was blue. I don't remember the name of the bike, but it was blue. I just remember that. As soon as I took the training wheels off, I started wheeling, and ever since then, I've just been on the bike. I always loved, riding bikes, and then discovered BMX, and that was it.
Was there something that made you like gravitate to BMXs? Was there like an older cousin, a dad, a brother, someone who kind of introduced you to the world of biking, or was that just solely you?
So biking, that's one thing. Um, they used to have the magazine, BMX Plus magazine, BMX Action Mag. There's a whole bunch of magazines that were out. Freestyling magazine, used to see them on the newsstand. So that's what got me in to like BMX because you started opening up the book and was like, wow, this is amazing what they're doing. And then so that's what really led me to start, getting into BMX and doing tricks and wanting to race. So then my cousin Alan, he put me on to the local BMX track. I didn't know we had a local BMX track where I'm
Mm,
from. So he put me on to the local BMX track, and he was the reason why I even went to a BMX track and started racing. So
mm,
that's actually like if anybody was to take credit for putting me on to BMX racing, the racing aspect of it, definitely was my cousin because I think he was already racing at the time or he just started. And me and him was always on the corner doing freestyle and stuff like that. But then he was like, it was a track in Newbridge, Long Island, and from then on, that was it. The passion was there. It's like I want to be a pro. I want to race pro and be in the magazine. That whole aspiration. And the time period that happened, you're talking early '80s. So really, I started racing in '84, if
hmm
I ain't mistaken. Now '84, we're like dealing with BMX. You have hip hop, which is a burgeoning thing,
Right,
right? You have computers, which you have like the new technologies coming up.
right.
And then, everybody who was a kid back in the day always was reading comic books. So that was part of your life at the time. It was like read the comic books, Daredevil, Superman, the X-Men. Then you watch the Saturday morning cartoon. Once those are over, oh, you watch the martial art flicks, Godzilla, all that stuff, right? Then after that, you're going outside riding your bike, doing all the bike stuff. And then next thing you know, everybody got windbreakers and stuff. They trying to do some break dancing. And
Facts.
before breakdancing really got hot, everybody was trying to be a gymnast. Remember, everybody got everybody
Yeah.
had the bed mattress out trying to do flips. So all
Come
of
on.
this stuff was going on at the same time. Either wanted to be a ninja, a karate person, you wanted to do, you know, ride BMX. Then you had cats who didn't know about the racing aspect but knew about the trick part. So everybody wanted to be freestylers. So all of this stuff was happening at the same time. And so that was like my youth was that. And then I was really into music. I always was into music, back in the day, just listening to tunes on the radio and either humming them or, singing the lyrics and stuff. But I always was into music. So music was always a thread that was always there. And then, then hip hop came and, Tila Rock and, listening to all of these classic MCs and stuff that became the soundtrack to our youth. So it
Yeah.
was like you had hip hop was the soundtrack, BMX was the physical activity you did besides breakdance and all that stuff. It all to me, it's all kind of like they're different cultures, but they all come up at the same time, and they all embed one kind of like subculture of my culture, I guess you want to say. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Um, um, but yeah, I mean that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
So, does Alan still ride?
Nah, he doesn't still ride, but he still follows the sport. He was a DJ though, so he followed that direction. He became a DJ. He was a popular DJ in Atlanta, DJ SK1, and yeah, it's the same thing. He had a passion for music, had a passion for riding, had a passion for BMX, and there's so many times that those roads have crossed, you know.
Right.
Yeah,
So, to go back to you kind of saying it was random. So, on this show, my specific idea is to interview not just MCs, not just DJs, but I want to interview hip hoppers that do all types of things
right.
that intertwine hip hop with. So you are perfect because you do the biking thing at a high level, and I know you love hip hop at a high level. So you're exactly who we want for this show.
That's what's up.
What was the inspiration behind starting the Sugar Cane website?
Sugar Cayne website is actually not the first thing that I did. So the first thing, we got to take it kind of back to kind of how it all led to
Okay.
sugarcane.com. So let's see, my cousin again, Alan. This is back when
Shout out
he
to
was wanted to
Alan.
be shout out to Alan.
Yeah.
SK1 was good. So so Alan wanted, so my father got me a keyboard, right? A Yamaha keyboard, the joints that had like the pre-made tunes in it and all that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so he got me one of those joints, right? I love music, so I'm sitting here playing little tunes. My dad showed me some chords that I could play. I learned his chords and playing around. And of course, you want to make some hip hop beats because that's all during the same time. And then my cousin Alan, he wanted to rap, and then he had some friends around the neighborhood that also wanted to spit, but he wanted to rap. So so I started making beats for him on the Yamaha joint. So he started rapping, I started making beats, and that kind of what started me into producing tracks, that start producing tracks and making music. And when I first started doing it, I was really, really was into, the technical part, like, buying keyboards, figuring out how to record stuff, taking a double deck cassette player and
Right.
then recording and recording and recording, doing your tracks like that. That's how I used to do it, back in the day. So I had cats come over, they would spit and we would throw the beat up and then we would just keep doing layers.
Right.
So um I started buying equipment during that time. Got a drum machine, got a keyboard and things led to was it the multi-track cassette players they used to have, the Marantz
Mhm.
joint, had one of them joints. So uh from that led to me producing tracks just so we can hear it in the car. So I was like, I just want to make some beat because during that time, Friday, Saturday, we heard hip hop, we heard what was new, and that was kind of it. It wasn't like every single day hip hop was on the radio. It was like
Right.
Friday, Saturday, Friday night, Saturday night. You get to see the whole lineup, and that's it. And
Right.
then you had, the video shows. You had Ralph McDaniels, and you had, MTV with this stuff. So, but for me, it was like we want to hear. And I was a big Tribe Called Quest, Native Tongue fan, when all that stuff came out, and we just wanted to hear more beats like that. So I was like, I started making tracks and started making beat tapes, and it was really just exclusively for me and my boys to hear in the car. It was no
Right.
type of thing like, I want to be a producer, I want to be a big rapper. No. It was just our love of hip hop and music. So I would make these beats. We get in the car, we listen to them on the way to the party or on the way to the mall to find out where the party was at. Catch and start rapping in the car, of course, with the rhymes, we
Right.
all
Know all
freestyle
about
in
it.
the car, and then that led to me taking it a little more serious because my boys wanted to rap and see if we can get put on, and that led to me producing tracks for them, and they was rhyming to them, and then I started shopping stuff around, and you know, um, and that led to Sugar Cane Productions.
Mm.
Sugar Cane Productions was the original production company that I made that was for my music. So all the
Mm.
music productions, I started I didn't manage artists, but I was like their production company. So they get their tracks from me. We record in the studio in the house and went from there. So that's where Sugar came, excuse me. That's where uh that's where the Sugar Cane thing kind of all started.
Gotcha.
So from there, it's so many things that happened. It's so hard for me to put it all together because there's so much stuff that happened. So I wanted to be a stand-up comedian back in the day, and this is all around the same time pretty much, early 80s. I'm from Roosevelt, New York. Eddie Murphy lived in Roosevelt, New York. Was on Saturday Night Live. So mad inspiration right there. And
Absolutely.
I wanted to be a stand-up comedian. And then I remember back in high school, me and another friend were in the stand-up comedy, and we used to talk about it all the time. And I love Billy Crystal and comedians like that. Um, um, so that was another angle, right? So when I was thinking about how would I fit into this comedy thing, because there was so many stand-ups. And I was like, man, what, where would I fit in that? And during the time, if you remember in hip hop, we used to have all the skits in the
Absolutely.
songs. We had everybody was doing skits. You had all these funny ad libs going on. Then you also had the comedians, rapping Rodney Dangerfield. You had the rapping Duke, the HUD, and we had Big Mouth, Big Butt, Friends. Friends is kind of like comedy too. And then there's so many hip hop songs back then that were comedy based. You know what
Right.
I mean? They were fun, You Be Illin. You had all these joints. And then at the same time, during that same time, you had Will Yankovic who was doing parodies and stuff like that. So
Right.
you had all of this stuff going on at that time, in music and also in hip hop that was inspiring me. And I was like, well, I like to mimic artists. I like to produce music, and I want to be a stand-up comedian. I said, you know what? Let me do parodies.
Mhm.
Because I would get on at the end of my boys' songs and I would start, just saying little funny stuff or doing little funny ad libs. And I was like, you know what? Shoot, let me do parodies, you
Right.
know. So then I started doing parodies. So I started parodying, but I didn't want to be like Real Al Yankovic where I was doing like pop songs and stuff. I wanted to do hip hop songs, but I didn't want to just do hip hop songs. I wanted to do like B-side songs. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to kind of go like underground hip hop comedy where like,
Right. Right.
you have to really be into hip hop to know what's on my parody.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I was really trying to be particular and lyrically, match what they're saying, and try and, capture all the cadences
Mhm.
and try and mimic their voice, even though it's very hard for me to mimic a lot of people's voices, but I try. But yeah, I used to mimic people's voices. And so that led to me going into comedy, doing Crazy Al Cayne. So a lot of people know me as Crazy Al Cayne for me doing parodies and comedy. So and this was all kind of going on all at the same time. I mean, when I did the BMX stuff, that was like in the 80s. When we got into the 90s, I wanted to be a stand-up comedian, started getting into acting. Never got off the bike, always stayed on my bike no matter what. That was like the one constant that was never going to change.
Right.
Never getting off my bike. And the reason why is 'cause I love to do it, love to be love the fitness and everything. But in the back of my head, I said, you never know when you might have an opportunity in bikes where you might have to, get busy.
Right.
So
Right.
like I want to stay sharp on the bike, because you never know. And that was a little voice in the back of my head. You never know, it might turn into something. But I was like, and everything that I did actually was to come back to BMX.
Mhm.
So I want to be a big actor, star, whatever. I want to star in movies. I want to produce. And once I get to that point where I can in music and in acting, I come back to BMX and open my own track or sponsor a rider or something, like, you know what I'm saying? So that was always kind of like a thing that I wanted to do, like do all of these other things that I love to do to actually come back to doing what I love to do, which is BMX, and my little vision of what BMX is.
Man, I love that. That's a great story. I'm glad you took the long route and told us all about that, because there was a lot of things in there I didn't know. The whole comedy thing. Who's the best voice that you can mimic?
I mean, they're all pretty mediocre. Dang, I'm trying to think who's the best person I can mimic. Shoot, I don't really know, to be honest with you. It's all like a if you can't do a person's voice, you do their kind of cadences, you know what I mean? You kind of do their kind of get the tonality, but even if you can't get in pocket, you kind of get the point across by doing their
Right.
little tonality. But I was never really, I can do voices, but to do a specific person's voice good, you gotta go to Jay Farrell for that. Jay Farrell's the man with that. But yeah, I mean, I've mimicked I would say there's a couple of songs, couple of joints that I parody where I got pretty close to in pocket to some people. I did Bravehearts. I did
Hmm.
Uchi Wally and did a parody of Uchi Wally.
Do you remember
I
it?
did all four artists. I did all four MCs. Or was it five MCs? Four MCs in that joint.
Can you do a piece of it now?
Uh, it was pretty explicit that one. I toned it down a little bit now, but uh let me see. I forgot which one of the cats was it. He said, "Little young thing, why you got that rust on your tongue ring?" That's another thing too, is when I was doing my parodies, they got pretty raunchy. And once you get older and you see you see the impact of what you do, especially now with social media and stuff, you get an you
Instant.
instantly know your impact on what people see and what people think and how they perceive you. And then when you have a kid and stuff, all these things that you used to do have to change. I mean, you can't continue at least doing it the way you was, especially if it was like adult stuff and raunchy stuff. But yeah, a lot of my parodies was type raunchy, but I had some regular ones in there too. But yeah, so yeah, the parody thing was a lot of fun. I haven't really done much of that in several years, but I might maybe bring some stuff out again so people can check out. But yeah, that was a whole it's like mad different lifestyles in one life.
So tell me about the. Now I'm hearing the echo. You hear that? Now it's gone. Heard it for a second there. I was gonna say,
Okay.
tell me about the Sugar Cane Bike Fest. How did that cut? Just tell people about it who don't know about it, and
Mhm.
yeah, just where did that inspiration come from, and how can people find it and go to it and things of this nature?
All right, so the Sugar Cane Bike Fest is but I gotta tell you the story. So once upon a time, BMX racing had two sanctions. So BMX racing in the States had a sanction called ABA, American Bicycle Association, and they had another sanction called the NBL, National Bicycle League. They all been around since the 80s. And uh long story short, NBL ceased to exist and they got brought out by ABA, became the USA BMX. So when we had two sanctions, we had more of a spread of races along in the country. So when I came back to racing, because I raced, I left racing, stayed on my bike, but then came back to racing when I decided to actually start doing my sugarcane website
Hmm.
because I wanted to tie everything together. Because at that point, I did the parody stuff, I did the comedy stuff, the parody stuff, I did Man on the Street stuff, I did a whole bunch of things, and I wanted to put everything into one show now
Right.
because it was like it was never, nobody's done it before, and it was all my different passions put into one show. So I decided to do a show called Crazy Al Cayne TV,
Hmm.
and from that show came sugarcane.com. So the original website was CAC-TV, which stood for Crazy Al Cayne TV, and then it became sugarcane.com.
Right.
So you had that, right? So um, USA BMX, main sanction of the country, but now there's one sanction, you had less opportunity in the Northeast to go to major races. So there was like a void of big competitions and extra competitions
Right.
to go to.
Right.
Plus at the time, kind of like a lull in people's knowledge of what BMX tracks were, what BMX racing was. People didn't think BMX racing still existed. You have the mountain bike community, you have the cyclocross community, you have all these different off-road cycling communities that are surrounding us, but kind of nobody really knows about each other at the time.
Hmm.
It was kind of, everything was kind of separated. Um, but my main goal pretty much with Sugar Cane Bike Fest was to bring notoriety to BMX tracks, to bring the off-road cycling community together. So that's all the bicyclists who ride off-road, and also to create events that filled the void of us not having a bunch of events in the Northeast at the time. It was also, just to get a little bit more into BMX is, people used to complain about not getting enough time on the track, and tracks weren't open long enough because the tracks are open during a certain time, and you're not always able to get there during those times. So my thing was like, I'm gonna make an all-day event where you can come to the track, you could do a whole bunch of competitions, you can compete and all kind of things. It could be for the whole family, and everybody can enjoy the track and get extra time on the track. And then I'll invite all the different disciplines of off-road cycling together, fat bike, mountain bike, cyclocross, trail, everything. And that's what birthed it. So in 2013, I did my first Bike Fest event in Trumbull, Connecticut at Trumbull BMX track, and got a bunch of sponsors, got a whole bunch of swag to give out as prizes, and it was a cool event. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. We did 9 different competitions in one day. It was a super long event, and people had a good time. It was good.
When there used to be 2 different sanctions, what were the main differences between the 2 sanctions? And now that we're in 2024, years later after it became 1 sanction, do you feel like that void you were talking about has been filled?
As far as the void being filled, since that time, there's been a lot of people doing events. The spread of races that are happening right now is more spread out now, so there are more events going on. Like sometimes it's like too many events going on, and there's other people like myself who do their own competitions. So we do have a lot more things going on these days as far as competitions and different events. Your first half of your question was what again?
When there used to be 2 sanctions, what were like the main difference between those 2 sanctions?
Right. All right. So ABA, they have a thing called transfer system. So what you do is you race 2 motos, and then you qualify from those 2 motos into your main. You have 2 chances to qualify to get into your main race. You have it's a gate of 8 riders, and if you have more than 8 riders, you have 16 riders. You have 2 gates of 8. So they call them motos. So moto 1 will be the first set of 8. Moto 2 will be the second set of 8. It's all done by age. It's done by and proficiency. So if you're a beginner, you have to race against other beginners in your age group. If you're intermediate, same thing. If you're expert, same thing. And then you have pros that race in their own set. So for ABA, in order for you to transfer to get into your main moto, if you get like a first place in your first moto, then you automatically transfer into your main race. Depending on the amount of people who are there. So let's say you have a certain amount of people there where they take the first and second rider, whoever comes in first and second place in the first moto, and they'll take like 3 riders from the second moto to make the main race.
Gotcha.
So if you win the first one, you can sit the second one out until the main race. That's called the transfer system. Now in NBL, they do total points. Now total point racing is the same type of scenario, except whoever has the lowest points makes it into the main race. In order to get in order to get your low point is based off of your results. So if you get first place, you get 1 point. You get second place, you get 2 points. So whoever has the lowest points winds up moving on. But in order to do that, you have to race both races. So you have to race every race and then see if you qualify by your total points to see who makes the main event. That's the biggest difference between NBL and USA BMX. Now the other thing is the rest of the world uses total point racing. And in the Olympics, total point racing. Professionals, total point racing.
Gotcha.
And one of the big controversies that's going on in BMX right now is that the fact that you race amateur, all of this, might start off as a 6-year-old amateur, and then you become a pro, and you've been racing transfer system all this time, and now you're thrown into the pros, and now you have to do total points, which is a total, it's a different
Right.
style of racing because you have to race more than you normally do. So the adjustment time to get to a point where you can be competitive really worldwide is a little bit of a learning curve as opposed to if you just started off from the jump doing total point racing.
Which do
So
you prefer and why?
I prefer total point. Total point racing, it's more fun. You get more time on the track because everybody wants more time on the track. And you have another opportunity to make it happen. So, the person who got first place in the first race might fall and get last place in second race. You might make it in.
Right.
You know what I
Gotcha.
mean? So the opportunity and the fact that you have to push yourself a little harder to make it happen is what I like most about it.
Understood. What were some of your biggest challenges in creating the Sugar Cane Bike Fest? And if you were to do it again for the first time, what advice would you give to yourself? Or even to like a younger cat out there that's thinking about making their own bike fest? Like, what can they do to not maybe see some of the challenges that you might have faced?
Um, the biggest challenge with coming up with the bike fest really has to do with the website.
Mm,
The website. Because whenever I do stuff, I kind of go over the top with things. I have these big ideas, I go over the top. So when I was creating the event, I wanted to make the first event not only individual competitions for men, there's also individual competitions for women in the same disciplines. Then I also had different bike types. So we had the mountain bike competition for bunny hop. We had the BMX competition for bunny hop, and it went like that for all 9 events. Um, so I also added a point system in that. So every competition you participate in, you get points. So at the end of the night, I had to tabulate all the points to find out who actually won with the points.
right.
So that's technically it's a pain
Right. Right.
to make that happen, right? So um and then I put all the results on the website, and I'm also the webmaster, of course. I'm the webmaster for like 5 different websites, and you got the Instagram, Facebook, and all that stuff. So all of that webmaster stuff, you already know the headache with that,
Already know.
so that's a challenge. But actually putting the event on wasn't so bad because I had some great volunteers. Also had the tracks that I work with, that's what they do all the time. So
Right.
it was, it's kind of easy for them to support you when you do an event. I encourage people to do events at BMX tracks because, the facility's there, and we definitely need more people coming out to them and discovering them. And but yeah, they were very, very accommodating at the tracks. So that part of it wasn't really the hard part. Getting prizes can always be a challenge. At the time, I was doing a lot of interviews at different events and meeting a lot of people, so it was kind of easy for me to get product because I was already showcasing people's stuff on my website, and they were like, "Oh, you need stuff? All right, we got you." So my events when I first started doing them, the first couple of years, it was the only event you can get stuff that I was getting from people for prizes. And I
Mm,
was trying to get mad stuff. Like I was trying to get stuff for everybody. So,
right.
I was getting, book bag suitcases, slot cars, all kind of stuff. Stuff that was like just all kind of stuff. I mean, of course, clothes too.
Right.
And also, BMX parts and things like that. But yeah, so I would say the most challenging part of it wasn't really putting it together, but it was the all the behind the scenes technical website stuff. And I kind of dumbed it down a little bit now so that way I can have more bandwidth
Right.
to do them. But yeah, early on I was trying to do the most.
Mm.
Yeah.
How has BMX evolved since then from kind of when you were starting the website to now?
When I started to website till now. Um, I would say that of course, technology evolves, the quality of the bikes changed. some of the things that were new back in the day are now like just a standard thing. Riders have become more popular, and they also become more social. So guys are learning how to, make a name for themselves through BMX.
Hmm.
So that, you're getting some more business-minded people in BMX. And also BMX has expanded to different aspects that are now part of the norm now. Before, when I first started in the 80s, it was BMX racing. You had Flatland freestyle, you had, vert, and you also had you had vert, flatland, BMX racing. And this is even before streets. Like street riding came up during that same time I started.
Hmm.
So street riding came a little bit later on. And then, from street, then you have the different types of bikes that you have now. A lot of kids are riding the 26-inch and 29-inch bikes. So people say, wheelie life, wheelie bikes, but those are all BMX bikes. So,
Right.
and if you came up from back in the 80s, you would know they were racing on 26-inch BMX bikes back in the day. So everything there's a lot of things that were old that are new again, you know. Um, yeah, it's just been evolving the whole time.
What do you think needs to happen for Flatland BMXing to be involved in the Olympics?
I think it might be coming soon because just at this Olympics, they had one of the most decorated flatland riders doing tricks and stuff, and he also opened up the freestyle competition. He was the guy who, opened it up. So I think that might be coming soon because flatland BMX is definitely something that could be added to the sport. And we talked about that on Facebook, and some guys were like, nah, nah, nah. But I think that, just the format of flatland, it's just like breakdancing. It's
Right.
the same type of thing. It's just like ice skating. They do the ice skate program, they do all their tricks and stuff, flip around, same thing with gymnastics. It's just, it's all the same stuff, but you're on a bicycle.
Right.
So
Right.
just the actual format of flatland fits perfectly with the Olympics. Some people are like, "Well, I don't know what's going to do for the sport, or what's it going to do for the community." I'm like, it's about the pinnacle of your discipline at
Right.
the Olympics. You have World Cups, you have big competitions, then you have the Olympics, which is a whole different level. And to represent your country on the Olympic stage, that means something. You know what I
Right.
mean? So just like we had the BMX racing at the Olympics, and you know, uh, in the States, in the States, as far as our country is concerned, it's not like a really, really big deal. But France just had three riders win in BMX racing, first, second, and third. So they got the top three slots, and France is going crazy right now. You
Oh,
know what I mean?
really?
That country's going crazy. So BMX ain't really just about us. It's about everybody else in the rest of the world that do it. So it may be kind of cool here, but it's huge in other places.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So yeah, you know, I think Flatland can definitely be in the Olympics. Don't know what it's going to take. Somebody mentioned that they would have to take something out in order to put something in because the Olympics only accepts a certain number of sports to be included in the Olympics. So
Mm.
in order for you to add something, you have to take something out.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's probably one of the reasons why it might not be because if you put flatland in somebody else's sport, and I think it's particular to the discipline. So cycling is everything. So cycling is mountain bike, BMX, all of that. So something in cycling, I think, will have to get taken out if you want to put flatland in, unless they decide to just add more events.
Mm.
So that might be the reason why we haven't seen it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Is there a time you can tell me about when BMX riding helped you overcome a personal challenge?
BMX riding consistently helps me overcome personal challenges.
How's
Um, in BMX, especially in BMX racing, I won't even start with BMX racing. I'll start with BMX just in general.
hmm
So as a BMX, somebody who wants to do tricks and learn things, you have to go through that process and you have to be self-motivated. And you asked me a question earlier on that I didn't answer. And the reason why I started doing BMX also is because you're not confined to being in a team and dealing with other people. I don't think I was ever really, not that I'm not a team player, but it was just I don't know, high school sports just never really attracted me.
Hmm.
Just the whole mentality, the attitude and all of that. And it's like, the whole jock attitude and all that stuff. It wasn't really me. I was more of a person like dealing with real people, real things, and doing things as the opposite of that. So
Understood.
that attracted me to BMX because number one, when I was coming up, it wasn't looked highly upon, not really. You know what I mean? Like that was like, oh, you do that? You know what I mean? It was that was kind of the attitude towards it. You know what I mean? So that obstacle in itself is something that BMX taught me. Like, no, forget what everybody's saying. Do you, do what you got to do. You know what I mean? If you love doing this, then you do it. That's number one. Number two is in order to get better, you got to fail a lot.
Mm.
You're going to crash a lot. You're going to be garbage at it. You're going to suck. And you have to push through that part to get to a place where you're actually good.
Right.
And that's life in general. You know what I mean? That's the cycle of life in general. It's like you're gonna fail, you're gonna fail, you're gonna fail, you're gonna fail. All right, so who are you? Are you gonna continue? You gonna give up? If there's something you really like to do and you want to get good at it, you're gonna get good at it eventually, but it might not be tomorrow, it might be 2 years from now. You know what I mean? So, and then on top of that, you got people like, yo, you still riding them bikes? Like, what you, huh? You know what I
Right.
mean? And it's like, so why are you really doing it?
Right.
You're doing it for yourself. You're doing it, because you love doing it, regardless of what other people say. You ain't
Right.
hurting nobody. You're having fun on the bike.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and then you have a whole community of people who are on that same wavelength. You know what I mean? And there's no, no pressure. Everybody cheers each other on. And when you learn a trick, I feel good for you. I learn a trick, you feel good for me. And then and then we try and figure out how to do it better and stuff like that. So, you know, those life lessons, you take that everywhere. You take that mentality everywhere. So when I got into acting, it was like, all right, so I ain't get the part. Let me go to the next audition.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I mean? You
How do
know,
you, how do you prepare for a freestyle bike session?
I don't prepare. I just ride. So
Mm.
I'm not doing a competition, so there's no preparation. It's just you go
Right.
out and you session. And this is the reason why BMX and hip hop is so related and intertwined. Is because you gotta think of it as a cipher. You prepare for a cipher, you just go and
No.
spit. You just
Right.
spit. You
Right.
got you both have a love. Everybody in your cipher loves what the art is. And then the beat come on, and then you start spitting. And that's it.
Right. Right.
And so the stuff that you pulling from things, you're pulling from different things that you've learned skill wise, technique wise, lyrically wise, and you just having fun with it, freestyling or doing writtens or whatever you want to do. And it's the same thing with BMX freestyle. It's like, oh shoot, there's a curb right there. Let me try and hit that. As a matter of fact, let me session that curb. Yo, let's go over here. Let's hit this curb right here. Spend 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, maybe a whole day hitting this curb and trying to jump it, do a tabletop. I'm gonna take my hand off. Oh, you took your hand off. Okay, I'm gonna take my foot off. You know. So it's
Yeah.
the same thing. Like when somebody spit, like spitting bars. Like, oh, he just did that. Okay, let me try and raise the bar with that bar. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's the same thing. It's basically a cipher. At the end of the day.
So as a lyricist, me, myself, and I personally, sometimes I have favorite types of ways of putting my words together, like specific patterns I use that I appreciate more than that probably work for me more than others sometimes, and I kind of lean on them.
Right.
Are there certain tricks like that for you that those are like your go-to tricks
Yeah.
and
Oh
like
yeah. Oh yeah.
what are
Yeah.
they?
Yeah. Yeah. For me, my go-to trick that I do whenever I'm trying to impress somebody or just want to do something fly is it's a trick called the gut lever. It's an old school trick from back in the 80s. And it was real popular back then, but nobody really does it nowadays. And
Mm.
I've always like that's always been the trick that I just do
Mm.
um
Right?
uh just out of nowhere just for fun. And people are like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe it." It's similar to planking. So people sometimes say, "Oh, you planking on the bike?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm doing the gut level." So it's a trick where you basically are standing up on your handlebars, but you are you're more horizontal on the bike. So you have your handlebars back, you have your hands on your handlebars backwards. You put your elbow like right by your pelvis, and then you lean forward on the handlebars and lift your legs up, and you're like kind of flat on the bike,
Right.
and you just rolling. And people are like, "Oh, snap, that's what's up." So that was one of my go-to tricks. Back in the day, I used to be able to do no-handers pretty good. I haven't done no-handers in years, but that used to be a trick. A tuck no-hander was a trick that I used to always try and do, or always do. At once upon a time, I was good at 360s. I would do 360s over, big box jumps and stuff like that. Well, I've done a 360, but nothing at that height like I used to. Just some real small 360. I was able to do one a couple of months ago. I was able to do one.
Mm.
There's another trick called the Leary, which is named after a BMX legend named Harry Leary, where you kick your bike out to the side and turn your handlebars, and you're like basically facing the side of your bike. So those were like the tricks those were my go-to tricks when it comes to like, knock that out.
Got you.
Oh, and a tabletop. Tabletop is another trick. That's a trick that I try and do all the time. And I wasn't really good at them back in the day, but I would say over the last 10 years, maybe more than that, I got pretty good at tabletops.
What advice would you give to a young writer?
Just keep doing it. Don't give up. Keep doing it. I know it sounds mad generic to say that because everybody says that. Keep doing it. Don't give up. But it's true. Just keep doing it. Don't give up. Don't let anybody uh,
Dissuade you?
talk you out of it. Because, when people don't understand stuff that you do, especially when it comes to sports that they don't value, if you value the sport, then do it. Don't let anybody devalue what you do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Crabs in the bucket start
That
coming
crab, it's not even, yeah, it's like it is a crabs in the barrel thing because they're trying to pull you down.
because they don't.
But the thing is
understand.
they don't value it, so they're not even trying to pull you down. I don't know what it is, but it's like if it's a sport that people are familiar with and they know, they're like, yeah, you should do that because they see the value in that, and it's usually just monetary value or fame value.
Right.
The value in just doing something you love to do and being and getting good at it, that has value too. Just because you don't understand it or you think it's something that kids do or whatever your preconceived notion of what it is, you don't understand it and that person wants to do it. Why are you trying to knock them down for that? You know what I mean? So that's what I would say to any young cats doing it. But nowadays I would say they got it better than how we had it. Because when I was coming up, that was 24/7. Now you got cats like, Nigel Sylvester, he just dropping the sneaker today with the bikes, and you got the Olympics, you have cats that got YouTube businesses just from riding bikes, you know what I mean, and just doing BMX. So yeah, it's a lot different than when I was coming up.
Well, I don't know because I'm not really in that world, but that was going to be kind of my next question. I think you started to speak about a guy named Nigel. My
Yeah.
next question was going to be, is there a story of a rider whose journey has inspired you?
There's several stories um that inspire me and that also keep me going. Um, okay, I'll tell you like this. So speaking of Nigel, right? Nigel Sylvester, he is a BMX street rider who came up in the game, doing the video edits and stuff online, and he was coming up in the game, and he decided to not compete. He got a manager and an agent and decided taking BMX in an angle that nobody's really taken it before, when it comes to like fashion and just a different aspect of the lifestyle of BMX from basically like a hip hop perspective and I would say a fashion aspect, you know. So actually today he released his sneaker with Nike, so he's one of the first BMXs that were sponsored by Nike. And I'm actually working on an article about that. And he's got a sneaker called the Bike Air.
Mm.
And replaced the Nike and put bike on the back of the sneaker. So that's big. That's like,
Yeah,
who's
that's
doing that? You ain't got tennis
fire.
air. You know what I'm saying? You don't have soccer air, basketball air. You have bike air on the back of this sneaker.
Mm.
So he's just done some really incredible things as far as somebody who on the business side took it to the next level from a fashion aspect, from a lifestyle aspect, took it to a whole different level. He opened a whole new door for people in the BMX world to go through.
I love that.
You have D Blocks. D Blocks is basically the guy who got everybody back on bikes doing wheelies. The whole bike life movement, the whole wheelie bike movement, that's basically solely because of D Blocks and him doing those videos on Instagram and him doing wheelies all over the place, doing 1,000 different types of wheelie types of tricks. Like, not just regular wheelies. These guys are doing, there must be I don't know, 50 or 60 different types of tricks you could do as in a wheelie. And these kids out here are doing it and they do these massive ride outs all the time. He flies around the world doing ride outs. So everybody gets together on their BMX bikes, on their big bikes, there's 26, 29-inch bikes, and they just ride around the city mad deep mobbing, and it's people of all ages, all backgrounds riding their bikes. So, between him and of course Ty Lyons is the brand marketer at SE Bikes, and he linked up with D Blocks. They got together and kind of took over the world with that. So now you have rappers and all kind of people buying BMX bikes now. You know, Scarface and there's all kind of people who and it's funny because they're all part of the same age group. So, like I said, back then, hip hop was just coming up. People on
Right.
bikes, people riding them Schwinn's, people riding, they wanted to be BMX bike. Before hip hop, cats wanted to be BMX stars. People wanted to be, there was different things people wanted to be, comic books, all that stuff. I remember I covered a comic book event and one of the cats that makes comic books was like, yeah, I used to have a Harrow. I was doing tricks, da da da. I interviewed Mike Geronimo. He was on Spittin' in the Whip, and I had Mike Geronimo on there, and we got into a conversation about BMX, and he went like, "Yo, I used to have a Harrow. I was riding." Da, da, da." He went nuts. Like it's something he really loved to do. So there's so many people actually coming back to BMX just because based off of what guys like Nigel and guys like D Blocks are doing these days. Like Jay-Z actually, what was it, 7 years ago? It was Tyler the Creator, Jay-Z, and what's the name? They had that song where Jay-Z basically gave Nigel a shout out talking about BMX tricks. So
Yeah, I
BMX
remember
has
that.
always been in the culture, in hip hop culture. It's just
Right.
people, you know, don't make that connection. But as a person who rides BMX and who's been in the culture all this time, of course I know. You know,
Right.
and there's a bunch of people. I'm not the only one. There's a bunch of people like me out there that know about how closely connected and related BMX and hip hop really is. Like if you take, let's take here's an example back in the 80s, early 90s, right? So you had this kid named Dennis McCoy, professional BMX rider, Dennis McCoy. His nickname was DMC as well, right? Because
Mm.
DMC Dennis McCoy. And I don't know if you remember, there was an Adidas ad. Now this it's already been well known that Run DMC is Adidas. My Adidas, right?
Facts.
So Dennis McCoy was one of the most versatile riders at the time. We had three different disciplines in freestyle, three different competitions, you could say, in freestyle. It was vert, flatland, and then you'll also ride the wedges, right?
Hmm.
So you had a flatland trick that was called scuffing, and it was a scuffing trick. And Dennis McCoy was one of the only cats who would do like the scuffing trick real fast, where he was like doing some breakdancing. So
Mm.
there's literal videos of people who are commentating on him doing this freestyle, saying, "Oh, it's just like he's breakdancing." So like that was a thing being said back then.
Right.
So then they got the sponsorship with Adidas, Harrow, Adidas. Dennis McCoy was one of the riders. So they all rocking the Adidas gear, that the Run DMC Adidas gear.
Mm.
and he's doing, and they're doing the freestyle and everything, and he's basically breakdancing on his bike. So if you look at any old footage of Dennis McCoy, you'll see him do his it's like a scuff trick he does on the front end. Not really scuffing, it's like I forgot what they call that trick, but you basically are doing like footwork on the bike. He's doing footwork on the bike.
That sounds super interesting. I gotta
Yeah.
look that up as soon as
Yeah,
this
it's
interview's
it's it's
over.
super it's super they're super connected, man. It's really connected.
I'll be able to
Um,
find his stuff on YouTube, right?
yeah,
Dennis.
yeah, Dennis McCoy, look him up. Dennis McCoy, man. What else? Um, the other inspiration for me is, of course, older riders. So you got guys in their 60s that still race.
Mm.
So anybody older than me that's still doing it, it's going to be an inspiration for me because I'm old. It's like, well, how much longer can you do it?
Right.
Well, you got guys 68 years old. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was at Trumbull BMX. I made a video about it actually, and I already know there's older guys racing, but it's an inspiration, man. Especially when there's somebody like my age that's nice. Like dudes who are real nice at it at my age, that's inspiration too. Cause it's like, all right, I'm going fast right now, but I ain't get on the track. This dude's smoking me. I'm like, that's inspiration right there, dude. If I can get fast like this cat, damn.
Yeah,
This cat named Sean Dupree, Jeremy Thompson. There's so many fast guys in the older age group that inspire me. Anybody who can beat me out the gate, anybody who can beat me to the finish line on a BMX bike at the track that's my age or older, you inspiring me.
that sounds like how I look at Nas and Black Thought.
Mm. Yep. Yep.
Like,
Yeah, it's no reason to be
yo,
jealous. It's like, yo, that's why I look forward to being toe to toe with these cats.
I heard
It's all
these guys
love.
and pull out my rhyme book. Like, thank you, got my
Right, right,
information.
right.
Uh,
Yep.
I had so many questions you were talking just now, but I have a random question I gotta ask. So you sounds like you're a comic book guy. DC or Marvel?
I'm more Marvel.
Preference. Okay.
Yeah,
If you were to choose a Marvel character that was similar to your biking BMX style, who would it be and why?
that's a good question. Um, hmm. Hmm. I would have to think about that for a while. I would just say Spider-Man though. Because Spider-Man, just because he's slinging the web and going, swinging and jumping and all that stuff is kind of like what I would like to do if I was to be a superhero or something like Spider-Man, where, you're not necessarily flying, but have that rhythm. Because he has a rhythm when he goes
Absolutely.
around with the web. He's slinging the web, jumping. Jumping. It's similar to how when you're on a bicycle and you're pumping through like a rhythm section, it's kind of like that same type of sensation, but just at a real bigger level.
Ah,
Plus he's a comedian. He's
facts.
funny, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he can whip your butt and still crack jokes at the same time. So that's pretty cool too.
I love that answer. Makes sense. Makes sense. I love that answer. Can you tell us about your experience at the Long Beach skate park?
Just my riding experience there, you mean?
Yeah, like what's it like? Is there a difference there between there and like other skate parks you've been at? A feeling and people?
So, all right. Skate parks. I'm more of a BMX race guy. I do tricks. I love doing tricks, but I'm not a trick guy. To put it to that. I have pegs in my bike and nothing like that. And I my go-to thing to do is just go fast and jump curbs and go high or something like that. That was always my thing. Long Beach Skate Park is nice. It's really made for skateboards. But it is definitely a cool little spot. They have like a little double there that you can jump, which is cool. But for like an ideal situation, it's more of a means to an end kind of. Like
Mhm.
you'll go there, do a couple of things, and then bounce. Um, when it comes to facilities like that, a lot of them aren't made that are like bicycle friendly as
Mhm.
far as how they're just laid out and designed. Unless like you one of those riders who really freestyle. but there's a whole other aspect to BMX and to any one of those wheeled sports where people are more casual and but they still want to do stuff, but they're just more casual with it.
Mm.
So there's some people who come to a skate park or a bike park and like, I don't want to jump off a ledge. I don't want to hit a vert ramp today. I don't want to do a trick. I just want to flow.
Right.
So there's not a lot of facilities, not in New York, that you can go and just flow unless you're at basically a BMX track. Truthfully, you can go to a BMX track and crank it up and flow. Like I'm always game to go to a BMX track and do some laps.
Mm.
I'm not always game to go to a skate park and ride ramps. So actually, I have my shirt on right now, the pump track movement, and I'm an advocate for pump tracks, trying to get some more built in New York, in the New York tri-state area, also upstate. And a pump track basically is a bunch of rollers and berms that is a continuous loop, basically. Not a circular loop, it could be any kind of configuration, but it's all connected where you can do laps around it. And it's
Mm.
all in an enclosed location. So just like a skate park is in an enclosed location,
Yeah.
you can just go there and then you can just ride and do several laps on it, and you don't have to do anything really quote unquote complicated. You know what I mean? It takes a little bit of skill to learn how to do it, but anybody can learn it. You can have your kids there, they can do it. Anybody any age can do it, basically. So, for me, the pump track scenario is what I really like. It fills the void of me not being able to get to a track because the tracks aren't close.
Mm.
Sometimes I'm not in the mood, like I said, to hit a box jump or to do vert riding. Just want to flow. Plus the conditioning, the exercise, and just the skill level you get from it is crazy. It's kind of like doing it's like Tai Chi for bikes. You're getting your core skills together on the bicycle riding like a pump track. And it's also when it's paved, at least when it's paved, anybody from any wheel sport can do it. So skateboarders, scooters, everybody can do it. So
I like
that's
the
where I'm at with it.
kind of switching topics a bit. Can you tell us about your segment Spitting in the Whip, how that came about, what it is for people who I know, but for people who don't know what it was, if you're going to continue doing it, maybe a memorable few experiences from that. I know you had the whole K dot thing blow up recently, so kind of
Yeah.
if you can talk about that.
Yeah, so I kind of touched on it earlier. Spitting in the Whip, that was born from my years of being a producer for hip hop, hip hop producer, and having sessions with people where you're trying to convince them to get on the track. Because you make a track and it's like it's only 50% made until the person actually hops on the
Right,
beat. A lot of times when I craft my music, I always craft it and I rap to it to see if a rap would even fit in it. A
right.
lot of times I don't just make a beat and then like, all right, I make a beat and I start spitting to it like, to see if it
Right.
actually kind of makes sense.
Hmm.
So I would do these sessions in my crib where it's like, all right, I got the manager there, I got the artist there, or just the artist themselves, and it's like, yo, either they're either down with the production company or just a homie that needs some time in the studio to make things happen. And it's like, all right, well, I'm hooking you up with studio time. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? A lot of times it wasn't like, all right, you have to pay, da 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 da. It's like, nah, come on, come on. I want to hear you on this track, da 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 da. And it's like they would be like, nah, I don't want to do that, or this ain't we, this is not fit. I'm like, just try it though. Just try it out and see what happens. So just that whole back and forth scenario is kind of like the very beginnings of me wanting to do something like that. It's always in the back of my head. I don't know why cats just don't hop on the beat. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whether you think it's hot or not, just hop on it and see what happens.
Right.
And I heard stories about back in the day that Run DMC would rap over a beat before they even made the actual music to it. It was like just a beat, just a drum pattern they would rap to. Then the producer would go and craft the music around that.
Right.
as an example. But um, so that was one of my frustrations. The other thing too was, like I mentioned earlier, is that I would just make beats for the crew and we just get in the car and start rapping to it. Something that everybody used to do. Everybody did that back in the day, but that was something that we did all the time. I would just make a beat, we get in the car, we listen to it, and we start spitting to it. So it's a national, it's like a pastime almost. You know what I'm saying? So between that and the fact that why would cats not want to spit to a beat they're not even paying for? Just rap to it, see what happens. And that's what came. That's how Spittin' in the Whip kind of was born. I was doing my TV show, and I was coming up with concepts, and that's when I was like, let me do this. Let me do this for real.
Right.
And it started where I would pick the beat for the artist to rap to. I would say, I'd have a bunch of beats in my phone, and then I would just pick a beat for somebody to rap to, and they would rap. And then that evolved into actually, let me start it again. I would have people rap to it, but I would always make sure the beats was short. And then it evolved into people rapping to a longer beat. And then it was like, all right, 4 minutes. Within 4 minutes, you got to go in.
Right.
And then, then we took the curses out. So no more, nobody, at first it was like kind of like freestyle, whatever. Now it was like, nah, no cursing. You gotta rap without cursing. And that's like part of the challenge. And then we had cats come in and they actually did a freestyle, like off the top of the head. And that just kind of took things to a whole new level. It was like, wow, cats freestyle off the top of the head. But you don't have to freestyle off the top of your head. You can freestyle, you can do a written, you can do a fritting, like we say. Freestyle and written. And then after that, it was like you basically I made it into a competition where you would rap and people would come to the website and they would rate your performance. Whoever had the top rating at the end of the month winds up winning, a medal. I had these medals that had microphones on them. And that back then I was able to find a system that I could actually do like a really cool rating system, and it had like trending and all kinds of stuff. So you would go to the page and see people trending up and down and stuff like that. It was pretty cool, but it was ahead of its time, and my website wasn't strong enough to deal with a lot of that. So so it all went back to the website, and the website had its ups and downs. It would crash. There's a lot of stuff like sugarcane.com has stuff from before 2008 that was on there when it really first started, and then I had to kind of convert everything. So, but there's a lot of times where the website crashed and I lost content and things like that. But during that time, I had a nice little setup with the site and the ratings. But I have a good setup now. But back then, in the early days, I had a pretty cool setup, and you know, um, yeah, we had a bunch of MCs on there that spit some fire. And the cool part about it was, no matter what beat it was, they had to go in. They had no choice. So then, a little further down the line, it was like, all right, now you just pick a name of a beat. So now people come in and they have a bunch of names on the file, and you have to pick the beat. And then I made it tricky where I would give them certain names, like this beat is trash, or pick this beat. That would be the name of the beat. So it would be really throwing people off, man. And then I purposely have like really bad beats in there, and some would be fast, some would be triple. You know what I mean? So people come inside the whip and they don't know what they're going to get. And I try to make that rule across the board. So even if you're a known MC or you're a legendary MC, y'all all got to play from the same ball field. I ain't gonna say no names, but there was one person I made that exception for, but I ain't gonna say the name. I did make one exception where I made them, they chose the beat. But usually I don't let nobody listen to the beat beforehand. They just see a file, they pick it, and they have to go in.
Did you ever have any spitting in the whips where it never made it to YouTube?
There's plenty of those. Those called the unairables.
Why didn't they make it? What reasons?
Um, some were just really bad. Some were really bad. That's pretty much the reason why. That's the only reason why they'd be unairable is they were just bad. Um, yeah, that's all I could say. Some of them were just bad. And then some cats, yeah, they just were bad. They just were bad. And then out of respect, I usually just I don't air them. I'm thinking about airing some of them though, like playing pieces of them now because some people got famous after a while. Some people blew up. And
Yeah.
then like there's one cat in particular who really blew up and he was on Spitting in the Whip early on. And yeah, that episode just wasn't that great. At the time, the level every time we do one, it's like seemed like the level gets higher and higher.
What letter
And
does his
and
name start with?
huh?
What letter does his name
Nah, I'm not
start
even gonna go there. Not even- I may one day, but I'm not ready for it right now. But what it is that you gotta rhyme for 4 minutes. You got to. If you stop early, then you that's just whackness. Because we always say no whackness in the whip.
with? Right.
So you gotta come correct. You gotta come prepared. So um yeah, and then some cats they just couldn't handle it.
So you've had Mike Geronimo, you've had Kendrick Lamar. What are some other names that people might know that you've had on there?
Milk D, Mike Jones, um, Paul Wall,
Word.
um, Astronomical Kid. You might know him as Astronomical Kid. Astro, he was on the X Factor.
Yeah, yeah, I remember him. I
Yep.
think I even saw that episode. I'm pretty sure I saw it back in the day when it came out.
Yeah. And he was real little too. That was when he had that song Stop Looking at My Mom's back in the day. He was real little. Now he's like
Look him
mad
up.
tall. He's taller than me now.
Gotta look him up, see what he's doing in 2024. I really appreciated his time on TV. It's like that
Yeah.
boy's gonna be something.
Yeah, he's talented.
What
Who else did I have on there? I had Tretch on there.
word? I didn't
The
see that.
Dot X was on there.
Damn.
I know I'm missing people. Oh, Dana Dane was on there. Now the Dana Dane one is funny because I did little segment about that was because J. Cole did a rap, did a bar in one of his songs where he mentions Dana Dane, right? And then he did a video because in this yeah, he did a video where he explained the Dana Dane part because it was kind of a controversial thing. People thought he was dissing Dana Dane, but he was actually kind of giving props. And then he mentioned what happened. He goes, yeah, man, I was watching YouTube and I saw this Dana Dane inside of a cab and he was in the back seat and he was rhyming and I was like, yeah, like that was the video. Like he was talking about Dana Dane. He's like, oh, you was what that was all for Spitting in the Whip. You saw that because that was when Dana Dane was on Spitting in the Whip. He saw that episode. He didn't know what it was, but he just mentioned he did a bar about Dana Dane and said where he got the inspiration from was from that episode of Spitting in the Whip.
That's
But
dope.
gave no mention of spinning the whip on me, but he said, yeah, the interview was there and da da da. But that was the Dana Dane, a little bit of props for Dana Dane on that episode.
That's dope.
Um, had G Dep on there.
Dope.
G Dep the week before he got arrested, we
Mm.
had G Dep on there. He's out now, so that's what's up. But yeah, we had G Dep on there. Um, DNA. Um, yeah, we had DNA. We had Head Ice,
Mm.
Lady Luck.
Jersey.
Yep. We had a bunch of battle rappers on there. Damn, I don't know. I'm shooting blanks right now.
It's all good. You said a lot of dope ones. I hope people find those
Oh,
episodes.
Homeboy Sandman. I cannot go without saying Homeboy Sandman. Homeboy Sandman was on there early on. Earlier. Big shout out to John O from the Gecko Brothers. There was one day where he was like, "Yo, we're gonna do a bunch of spinning whip episodes. We're gonna do like 10 MCs in one day." We started in Harlem, went all the way to Brooklyn. And we went from Harlem, Midtown, and to Brooklyn. We got like 11 MCs.
Dope.
And during that day we did Homeboy Sandman. We got 2 episodes out of him actually. And
Shout out, shout
this
out to
was back
Homeboy.
This is like in Lightning Bolt's day when he was doing Lightning Bolt and all those songs back then. So this is early Homeboy Sandman.
Shout out to Homeboy Sandman. He was on one of my albums. Usually I have my covers behind me. He was on Hip Hop in the Soul 3. Shout out to Homeboy
Mm.
Sandman.
Yeah,
Good brother,
yeah.
good brother.
Good brother. Good brother. Yep.
Um, so we're
Oh,
almost
wait, I'm sorry. I gotta keep going. I gotta keep going.
go for it.
I had Jay Farrell on Spitting in the Whip. He did a whole bunch of
Really?
impersonations over some bars. Yep. Over some
Uh,
beats.
I missed that one. I
Yep.
definitely gotta go find that one.
Yep. Jay Farrell,
Immediately.
that was a classic. I had Charlie Murphy on there. He was on there.
Stop it.
He had him and what's the name? Um Freeze Love. Him and Freeze Love had a little skit that they did called the Gibberish Brothers. And they got in the car and it was just rapping gibberish. And then Charlie did he did a bar, he did a verse. I also had Afion Crockett on there. Afion spit bars on there. Yeah, I
I
had a lot
listened
of people on
to
Spit in the Whip, man. People don't really know, but I had a lot of people on Spit in the Whip.
See, I hope this interview is gonna get those episodes some more views. Cause I know
Yeah.
I'm gonna go look for them as soon as this joint is over.
Yeah, it's like there's almost 400 episodes of Spit in the Whip. So, yeah,
Damn.
there's a bunch of them.
Are you done? Are you bringing it back? What's
I'm
good?
bringing it back. I'm bringing it back. I've been saying it this whole year. I'm bringing it back, but I'm bringing it back.
I think it's
Yep.
time. I
Yeah,
think
it's
it's
coming back. It's coming back for sure.
What are your thoughts on the importance of originality in freestyle, BMX, and hip hop?
Originality in freestyle BMX and hip hop, the importance. Of course, it's important. I think it's of the utmost importance. Um,
Wait, wait,
of
wait, wait. You
course,
know what? I'm sorry. I want to change the question.
go ahead.
Do you have, and I apologize about that because you sound like you're about to go in, but do you have biters in the BMX world like there are biters in the hip hop world?
Biters. The only place where you can kind of say that there are biters is probably in frame design.
Mm. And
So
go in on that.
yeah, so what happens is that you can only make but so many different styles of BMX frame designs, you know. And there are some designs that are more distinctive than others. So you have the loop tail BMX bike. So anybody makes a loop tail, they're gonna say you copying somebody else because, you know, Hutch and Mongoose and a bunch of other companies do loop tails. You have just different frame bends on the
Mm.
bicycles can make people say you're a biter, but there's so many frames that are similar, but they're just different in the fine details. But anybody just kind of like looking at a bike that doesn't know won't be able to tell.
Mm.
So they'll be like, "Oh, that bike looks just like that bike," and you know you're gonna run into that because you're dealing with two triangles. There's a triangle in the front, triangle in the back. You know, the only differences you can really do is in tubing, um, dropout, forks. But as far as the frame is concerned, there's not a whole bunch of stuff you could do different, but people do find a way to make things different. But there are definitely frames that look similar. And it's just kind of part of the thing, you know. But when it comes to frame design also, geometry plays an important part. So you can have something that kind of looks similar visually, but geometry can be so different that the bikes feel like something totally different than the other one. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
So if your head tube angle is a little bit steeper than the other bike, and then your bottom bracket height's a little higher, it's basically a whole different bike and feel. It may have a loop tail on it. It may have, you know, just similar features, but the geometry really what makes it different than the other bike.
Gotcha.
And when you're dealing with aluminum bikes, you have a lot more options because then they have a thing called hydroforming where you can make the bends of the frame different. So you can, you know, put little different lines in the frame.
Right.
So you'll see a lot more BMX racing bikes that are a little bit more diverse in style than like a BMX freestyle bike because you have more flexibility with the type of tubing you use. You know, aluminum tubing is more flexible. Then you got carbon bikes, which is a whole nother thing. And those carbon bikes is another one that you can customize the mold. Those to get molded and pressed together. So. That's a whole different style, but they look different as well.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, if you just don't know the difference between bikes and you looking at it, oh, the same bike as the other one.
Gotcha. Is there in hip hop, it's very competitive. The MCs who's the best, everyone, says they're the best. There's sometimes a king of hip hop. Is there that type of competitive nature in BMX riding?
Yeah, when it comes to comparing BMXers, and I'm gonna take BMX racing in particular, um, there's been the conversation about who's the GOAT of BMX because you have BMXers who've been in the game since really early on, almost the beginning, that are actually still racing now in the older age. They, racing the older classes, 60 and over, 55 and over. Then you have guys who are younger, but who've accomplished a whole lot. And the tracks have evolved a lot since the 80s. They're really evolved. Bigger jumps, more features, a lot faster. The bicycle's a lot faster. So when it comes to comparing some of the older riders to the newer riders, it's like, man, you really can't compare it. You go, well, if they were in their peak, does that make a difference? But at the end of the day, with BMX, your longevity and also your stats play a part. So Joris Dardenne, let's take him for instance. He's the French rider who just got gold at the Olympics. He's one of the most decorated racers as far as the big races are concerned. So the World Cups, World Championships,
Mm-hmm.
and the Olympics, along with beating along with a bunch of national wins.
Right.
And he's just so consistent with his riding. If he's in a race, 9 times out of 10, he's gonna win.
Mm.
Or he's gonna come in second. But he's just been kicking butt for such a long time that you have to give him GOAT status. Just, if it was a question before the Olympics, now that he won the Olympics, is really no question that you could say he's the greatest of all time.
Mm.
But the GOAT conversation for me, why can't there be more than one GOAT?
Mm.
We're not talking about kings. We're talking about GOAT. There's more
Right.
than one GOAT.
Right.
The greatest of all time, right? So you'll say, okay, what are you basing it on? When you pick up, when you ask that question, what do you base it on? That means that there has to be some type of criteria.
Right.
So if there's different criterias for each person, that means there must be more than one GOAT.
Right.
So when they go, oh, you're just talking about record sales. Okay, well, that's the GOAT of record sales.
Right.
He's talking about lyrical skills. He's a lyrical MC. But what about the sales? Well, he's a lyrical GOAT then,
Right.
right? What about story rap? You got the story rapper. Well, then this one's the GOAT of story raps. If you say, you know
Right.
what I'm saying? So there's so many different uh categories when you really break it down that when you're talking GOAT, you got to specify what kind of GOAT you're talking about. You know what I
Facts.
mean? Everybody wants the overall all-encompassing GOAT, the best that ever did it.
Right.
And it's like, and it's also interpretation. There's people, what are you going off of? So if we're going off of lyrics, sales, longevity, all these different cue points, then okay, then you have a GOAT for that category.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Or you have to go to the guys under 30.
It's
You
all
got to
in your
go to,
perspective.
it's all perspective. So, and we bring up that the conversation gets brought up all the time, mostly because it's clickbait. It's a clickbait topic. So
Mm.
it's oversaturated, that conversation. The
Mm.
GOAT conversation, the best hip hop album conversation, who's the greatest hip hop group of all time. Bro, every day inundated with the same damn conversation,
Right.
because it's clickbait, people
Mm.
want to get attention. But as far as I'm concerned, you know, if I'm thinking about a GOAT, Of course Jay-Z's a GOAT. Of course Eminem's a GOAT. I think Homeboy Sandman's a GOAT, truthfully. You know what I'm saying?
As do I.
Um, there's a bunch of goats out there, man. It's not just one goat. It's like there's how many presidents do we have in the world? How many
Right.
presidents do we? How many CEOs do we have in the world? Why is there only one goat? That make
Right.
no sense.
Right.
Don't make no sense.
I feel that. I feel that. Give me some for that. Oh man, this machine is pretty new. I just like pressing the buttons.
Yeah, it's dope. I gotta get one, man. I can't wait to get one.
So I only really have one more kind of question, and I have like some lighthearted questions. So the last question is really, what are your goals for the future of Sugarcane and the Bike Fest? And is there anything else you want the listeners to know about you and what you're doing?
Yeah, so the future of Sugar Cane, and when I talk about Sugar Cane, I'm talking about the website itself, is that really just to kind of continue with what I'm doing and just expanding its reach and showing showing all of these different connections between these pop cultures and these subcultures, how BMX, uh, comic books, fashion, hip hop, how they're all intertwined with each other, how they all connect to each other.
Right.
Um, it's just real important to me to to keep that going regardless of how much reach or how much money or whatever gets made from it. I think I'll just continue to do that with sugarcane.com. And yeah, I just think that's real important. And there's people out there who randomly will come up to me and be like, "Yeah, I'm a hip hop head and I'm a BMX head. I love that." And one of the coolest things is when people from these walks of life talk about the other things that I cover. I'll be at a toy convention and they go, "Hey, what's up with Spitting in the Whip?"
Right.
I was at a BMX race and people were like, "I don't listen to hip hop, but I watch Spitting in the Whip."
Right.
I got people in the hip hop world talking about, "Yo, what's up with them bikes?"
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because they go, "Oh yeah, when I was young, I used to have a this bike and that bike."
Right.
Then you have somebody who same thing with the comic book culture, "Oh, I used to have a BMX bike, I was nice with it, da 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 da." So all those kind of conversations and those type of things that, people don't normally
Hmm.
put together.
This is so dope, man, because like I said already, this interview, someone like you is specifically why I made this show. So I'm so happy that I got you on the show. Um, so for the lighthearted questions,
Hmm.
what are you listening to right now?
In general,
Yes.
all right. In general, my day to day, it's a variety of things. I'm gonna tell you, of course, I listen to Homeboy Sandman. I listen to Pat Metheny. I listen to Bonobo. Um, who else am I listening to right now? I'm listening to Bat Sauce. Those guys are all right. Um,
What type of music is Bat Sauce? I never heard of
they're
them.
hip hop, actually. They're hip hop. They've been
Really?
around for like 20 years, but they got some new stuff out right now. Pretty
Bat
cool. Yeah,
Sauce.
they Bat Sauce.
I'm
I
gonna look.
just I just found out about them recently and posted a video of theirs. And then they just dropped the album recently. And there's another video. They got an animated video I'm gonna post up on my website if I get around to it, man. I'm so busy, but yeah, Bat Sauce, man. They all right. They all right. Boom bap, hip hop. I like boom bap hip hop, but that's my go-to. Boom bap, underground hip hop, soulful, organic, something lyrics with meaning and content and depth.
Right.
Um, anything like that I'm listening to. I like jazz fusion. I listen to the oldies, the 80s joints, I was just listening to some uh pop song from back in the 80s. Not pop, but not pop as in like how we do pop now. like MTV back in the day. You know, you watch MTV and just randomly some rock video come on, you're like, that joint is dope. You know what I mean? So that type of pop is what I'm talking about. Like old school MTV 80s pop where, you know, you'll hear like, you know, it'd be like U2 and then it'll be, you know, Caribbean Queen, you know, all kind of stuff be playing back to back. You know, I really wish that MTV went back to something like that, or some video station went back to something like that, because that was a
I
dope
agree.
format where, you know, one of the biggest problems right now is that we stay in our own little bubble. And when you had outlets like back then, at least with MTV and VH1, you know, you stayed on the station because you didn't know what was coming up next. And you might not like the next one, but the next one's like, oh, that was dope, you know. So that's why you got all these different songs and artists that were really dope. So that's
Even
kind of
be
like where I'm at right now with it. Huh?
even Beavis and Butthead used to have like some random videos.
Right, right. Yep. Beavis and Butthead. Yep.
What are you eating right now? As in, if you could pick one food that's been smashing it for you for all 2024, like more than any other food, like your go-to food so far this year.
Uh, that's a good question. I would say it's between Indian food and Mexican food, truthfully. I've been killing the samosas, me and my daughter. Samosas all day, burritos all day. I found a good burrito spot that's like smashing it with the burritos.
Mm.
Um, Sometimes I do veggie burritos, sometimes I do chicken burritos. And then the other thing I've been killing is patties, man. I've been killing the patties.
Beef
Veggie
patties,
patties.
veggie patties.
Veggie patties all day. Spinach patties too, but they get a little salty. But I like spinach patties, and I also like you know, of course, chicken patties. But
Vegetarian patties from the Jamaicans.
yeah, oh yeah, you ain't gonna get them from nowhere else. You ain't going to like Stop and Shop and getting a veggie patty. They only got his beef patties there, but yeah, you want to definitely go to Jamaican spot to get the real stuff. Same thing with Mexican food. No Chipotle. Okay, go get it from some real Mexican, real
I-
Mexican spot.
I got some samosas in the oven right now. They're probably cold right now.
Oh, word?
Yeah. What type of
You make your own samosas?
No, these were in the freezer at Stop and Shop, but they're official. They were in the halal freezer aisle. So
Oh, word?
samosas, yeah.
Okay.
Um, what type of Indian food is like a specific like chicken masala like? Is that-
Chicken tikka masala all day.
I
Yup.
I can dig it. Same as here. I love some Indian food.
Yup.
What are you watching right now? As far as like what movie, is there a specific movie you've seen this year that's like, yo, that's the movie, or a TV series that you're like, that's the one for this year so far?
All right. So all I gotta say about TV shows and movies is that they're taking too much time out of my life.
So you got some good ones, is what you're saying.
So my problem is that I'm going like, all right, while I'm editing this video or while I'm chopping some photo up, let me just put on some Netflix show in the background and just put it on over there. I'm gonna start this at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm thinking like, I ain't gonna pay no real attention to it. I'm just gonna put it on, right?
Right.
Bruh. The next day, I'm still up watching the episode the whole night at this. Every time I pick something, it's never like, all right, I'm gonna turn it. I watch the whole thing all the way through. Next day, I'm dead tired. And it takes so much time out of I got so many things I'm trying to do that whenever I stop to watch a show, it's like, dang. So as far as shows are concerned, you know, I really enjoy cartoon movies more so than a lot of movies, truthfully. And cartoon TV shows. I really enjoy those. And I also like, of course, the sci-fi joints. I'm really excited about the Umbrella Academy. I think that's coming back today.
Came on tonight.
It's tonight. See,
midnight.
that's a problem. That's a problem.
It's about to be on.
Yeah, that's a problem. Why did you remind me about anything on TV right now? I gotta record a segment about Nigel Sylvester, about his shoe release. I've been piecing it all while before we got connected, I was piecing it all together. I was getting my whole thing all set up, and then I was like, now you telling me about Umbrella Academy. I've been waiting for Umbrella Academy.
Final season too.
Stranger Things, of course. And then see, here's another thing, like Stranger Things, right? So they had the BMX bikes because they're depicting back in the day, the 80s, the whole mall era, and they had the BMX bikes they were riding around, and then Mongoose actually made a Stranger Things themed bike.
Really?
And yeah, they have a Stranger Things themed bike. It's not out anymore. It's sold out. And then they had another brand. I forgot what brand it was, but they had a Stranger Things themed BMX bike. So you see, it's just all related. And then those kids are in the Dungeons and Dragons. They was representing that whole era back then where kids was in stuff like that. So it's just how it's crazy how everything is interconnected, especially when it comes to BMX in particular, how everything kind of comes back to that. So that's kind of what I did with my sites. I kind of focused primarily on BMX and branching things out to everything else because they're all kind of connected to that for some strange reason. But yeah, TV shows, of course, Spider-Man, the Spider-Man movies, the Into the Spider-Verse, crazy.
Yeah, that's the
crazy.
one.
What's that movie with the man? It was a Netflix joint. It was UK based. Black kids. They were superheroes. Supercell.
Yeah.
Banger.
Yeah, it was.
Banger. I watched that all in one night. Anything I mentioned, I watched it all in one night.
Have you ever seen Invincible?
That's the one thing that I haven't seen yet.
Yes. I was hoping you said that. Said that.
Why you say that?
Because I don't care what else we talk about today. That is the one you need to watch.
I know.
Please, just watch the first episode today.
I can't do that. You know what's gonna happen.
I know.
We'll call you tomorrow and be like, yo, I'm still watching this joint right now. Thanks.
Yo, Al Cayne, let me tell you how you're sleeping on this show and you have no idea.
I know.
Watch that first episode, you're gonna be like, because you said cartoons and that's what made me think, and you like the superheroes. I'm so glad that I stumbled upon Invincible. It almost changed my life.
Really?
Wait till you watch it. Wait till you watch it. Wow. I don't even play about shit like this.
Wow.
You're gonna be like, I can't believe I let this ride for a year or two. Why? You wait and watch. I dare you to watch it after this.
Nah, I ain't doing that, man. I'm gonna watch it. I just can't do it tonight, man. I can't. If I do that, I'm a rap, bro. I'm a rap.
I hope that you don't let it go. I hope that you don't forget it, because you would really be doing yourself a disservice, especially after everything you just told me you like.
Right. I'm glad you reminded me though, because I haven't been thinking about it, but I see little blurbs and things here and there, and I'm like, damn, I really gotta watch it. But I think it's part of the reason why I haven't avoided it. You know what I mean? Because it's not one of those. It's not a show where I'll be like, let me just put that on in the background. That's how I get caught up. I get caught up when I go, let me just put this on in the background. You know what I mean? If I intentionally watch something, I know I'm gonna be going in, so I kind of avoid it. So it's usually the random ones that I'll be like, like what's the name? One Piece.
Did you watch
one I like? Yeah, I watched
the Netflix joint, the live action.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, me too.
I like that joint. That joint was good. That's coming back. And then I watched the other one that kid is in, the same kid that played Luffy.
Oh, I liked him as an actor.
Yeah, he was in Imperfections. Imperfections, I think it's called.
That's a new movie?
Nah, it came on. It was on before One Piece. He was another movie where they kind of had superpowers, and he was the Chupacabra. That's what he made him into. It was good. I watched that. That's the last thing that I watched, actually. That was the last series that I watched. It's called Imperfections. Or Imperfections? Imperfections, Netflix? I think. Yeah.
I'm going to look for it. All right. So the last part of the interview is me just saying a word and you telling me the first thing that comes to mind.
All right.
Bruce Lee.
Karate? It's really kung fu though.
It is. I'm glad you made that correction. Anxiety.
My first real thought, because of course I'm sitting here thinking about stuff, was I don't have any. That was my honest first thought. I was trying to think of some other thing to say. The next one was going to be my kid's mom, because she has bad anxiety problems sometimes.
You don't get in trouble. You try to just stay.
I know I'm gonna get in trouble for that one. Edit that one out.
Sade.
Dope.
The universe.
It's funny how when somebody tells you a word, how you go off and think about what you would say. The first thing I thought it was vast. That's my initial thought. When you said that, my first word in my head was vast. But I'm sitting here like, I thought fast, but I'm like, in my head, you know what I'm saying? I'm sitting here thinking, but you asking me, what's the first thing that comes to mind? So I thought it was interesting, because I don't play this game that much. So this is interesting how the mind works when you ask that question. How I was trying to find something to say, but the first thing that I thought was vast.
Africa.
I need to go there.
Unicorn.
First thing I thought was The Last Unicorn, the cartoon.
Tupac.
I thought Shakur, his last name. He said Tupac. In my head, I was like Shakur.
All right. Dizzy Gillespie.
All right. All right. So I don't remember what my exact first thought was, but of course, in my head, Dizzy Gillespie plays the sax. That's what was in my head. I think I had a visual of his face, and then the bar came in.
Shabba Ranks.
Shaba. That was the first thing I thought. Shaba. I gotta keep it real. I'm trying to keep it as real as possible. Yep.
I should have said Taxi Priest. All right, and for my last one, America.
It's crazy, man, because like the first initial thought is like, I wanted to come up with something better than that. All right, so there is a MC. I hope I'm getting this right. I don't know which MC it is actually. There's a song called America that an MC did, and they used the loop from, I think, Gil Scott-Heron's song, America. I just can't think of the name of the artist.
Childish Gambino. This is America.
No. It's a song that used I think it's Gil Scott-Heron sample where he says America. It's America. I just don't remember. I don't remember the artist, and I don't remember how the hook went. I just remember the part they sampled America. That's all I got on that one. But it's damn. I wish I remember what song that was, because I liked it. Damn, I wish I knew. Maybe I posted it on my website. It might be a tough one to find.
All right. I'll hit you with a different last word.
All right.
The last word is BMX.
For life. Life, son.
And on that note,
yeah.
This has been another episode of the Cymarshall Law Show. That's the brother Crazy Al Cayne.
Yeah.
We appreciate y'all. Until next time, peace, love, and positive energy. And we out like that. Peace.
Peace.
Thank you, Al Cayne. Appreciate you.
Yo, man. This was great, man. This was a good one.